Well, we got major game previews to talk about in the second week of November, the second weekend that is of November, and this is going to be incredible. We got a lot of really good games on deck for Saturday, and I'm excited to talk about all of them. And then some of the ones that I'm not going to specifically hammer on are pretty big games. Maybe you're looking at some upset potential. I know the group of five has a huge weekend, and it starts on Friday night. UTSA, who's a dangerous team in the American, plays South Florida. And then Tulane and Memphis might be the game of the year in the American as far as deciding everybody's fate. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video and subscribe for more regular college football content. I'm about to take a vacation trip, so I'm going to get a video ready for you for Walk That Line this weekend. Nothing for Wednesday or Thursday night here. As far as locks go, I kind of like Georgia Southern plus 5.5. I don't know why. They have not looked good this year. So, anyway, we're going to get into these game previews. Enough chit chat over here. I'm Colin Bashnigel, by the way, if you've never met me before, the host here. Let's get into this thing. We're going to start with BYU heading on the road to Texas Tech. And the first thing that you got to think about with this game is this is Bear Bachmeier, the true freshman quarterback, his biggest test against a very high caliber front seven at Texas Tech. And this is a huge game for Texas Tech. If you look down the stretch of the season, they don't have many more opportunities to lose after this. UCF and West Virginia is all they would have on deck. So if Texas Tech wins this game, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship. But Bear Bachmeier has really answered the bill as a true freshman, answered any sort of questions that anybody's had, every single challenge, but he just has not faced anything like this. And in particular, a lot of pressure, I think, is going to go on Bear Bachmeier's arm and his ability to extend plays because Texas Tech, their front seven is nasty with the combination of Roberts and Rodriguez at linebacker too. I think they're the second best duo at linebacker in the country. And those two lead a rush defense that is third in America against FBS competition in yards per carry. That is a huge stat in this game, meaning that it's going to put a lot of pressure on Bear Bachmeier to win this game. But it's also going to put a lot of pressure on this BYU defense to go out there and shut down this running attack on the other side for Texas Tech that when the throw game is not getting going, and there have been times for Texas Tech this year that it hasn't, they've been able to lean on that run game. And I think that if BYU can shut that down, this could be a lower scoring game than what people expect. And Texas Tech is going to have to grind this one out. And I think that that's a position that BYU is more comfortable in. Now, I think the big matchup to watch out for, this is the matchup that's going to decide this game or decide BYU's chances in this game, is Texas Tech are pretty solid, really good third down offense, taking on a third down defense at BYU that is really good. What is going to give? Which one's going to have success on third down? I think success on first and second down is obviously going to dictate that. If BYU can get Texas Tech into a bunch of third and longs, they play too disciplined, good defense to allow for 15-yard chunk plays on third and 9. 20-yard chunk plays on third and 11. They're too good for that. So I think that Texas Tech being able to win at the line of scrimmage is going to be critical here. And I think they're going to be able to do that enough, at least, to set them up with third and shorts. And if they can get third and shorts, I think they're converting quite often. I ultimately think that that's going to be the big difference in the game. I think that that's what's going to give is I think Texas Tech's third down offense will do well. I think Vegas nailed this line on the head. I got Texas Tech winning this game 27-17, pulling away late. Next game up, we got Texas A&M going on the road to Missouri. Matt Zoller's time. He is a true freshman, third string coming into the year. And I'm not going to lie, he surprised me when I was thinking against the Vanderbilt game, or in the Vanderbilt game, excuse me. I was thinking when Bo Pribula went out, this team is done. Like they have no life in this game, no life the rest of the season. Not going to lie to you, I was pretty impressed with Matt Zollers, the way he was able to step in. But can you do that against this Texas A&M team? Well, he's got to get a little bit of help from his defense. So they got to limit the explosive plays because I feel like the pass game for Texas A&M and Marcel Reed through the air is very reliant on the explosives or the 20 plus, let's say 20 plus yard pickups, but even 15 plus yard pickups. They get it to Casey Concepcion. They get it to Craver. They can really get some explosive plays from their guys on the perimeter. I think Mike Elko and the staff did an excellent job of going and getting the right yards after catch playmakers in the portal. And Colin Klein does a great job of creating opportunities for those guys in space, even down the field. And that is an excellent job. I think Colin Klein needs to be top 5 consideration for the Broyles Award right now. He's done a fantastic job with what he has here. Now, the biggest key for Missouri on offense is they got to be able to help this freshman quarterback. They got to establish the run game. You take a look at Missouri running the football. They started out really hot. They've kind of tapered off, but they're still a top 15 rushing offense when you look at yards per carry. And they're going to lean on that super heavy with the running backs that they have in Roberts and Hardy. So I think that ultimately you're going to have to see this offensive line really perform. And another part about that too is they got to avoid obvious passing situations, because if they get into obvious passing situations, A&M can pin their ears back. And that's A&M's strength on defense is Cassius Howell leading that pass rush, which is 3rd in America when it comes to sack percentage against FBS competition. Missouri is 94th in allowing sacks. That is not good. That's the matchup that I think will decide it. And then I also think A&M, the nature of their offense, even though I think this Missouri defense is pretty talented and they've played pretty well thus far this year, I think that A&M is going to be able to create enough explosives. If they could get Missouri playing from behind in situations where they have to throw the ball, that's the big difference. And you start to see mistakes down the stretch that decide this game. I have Texas A&M winning and covering by a score of 35-20 on the road at Missouri. Let's shift gears. We're going to Kinnick Stadium, where it is going to be sloppy. The weather is going to affect this game. Now, I heard this point earlier. Everybody's talking about the weather, and there's a truth to this. Oregon is not Southern Cal, right? Oregon is not Arizona, where this weather is going to affect them a little bit less than some of those southern schools. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy. They talked about a chance of snow maybe later in the game. I doubt it will during the daytime, but sunset is going to be right around 5 o'clock local, which is going to be 4th quarter time. It's going to get dark in Kinnick, and it might get a little chilly in the 4th quarter. And here's the problem I have with that logic is against a bad Wisconsin team. I mean, bad. Now, do they have a little bit more life than what people say they do? Sure. I mean, their defense is still pretty good, and their rush defense in particular is pretty good. They were sloppy against Wisconsin in some really bad weather, and that wasn't as cold. It was rainy. It wasn't as cold, and it's not going to be. It wasn't as windy as it's projected to be in this ball game. But it was a really sloppy weather game, and that's where Iowa's going to make their hay. So the big question is, despite the weather, it's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy. Can Oregon still get their pass offense going? Because they haven't really gotten going lately. We haven't seen much of Kenyon Sadiq in the last couple of games. DeCorian Moore has come back down to earth after a hot start to the season, and you haven't had those other guys really step up like a Malik Benson, for example. So, or another guy to watch for, Jeremiah McClellan. Where have these guys been? And I worry that they're going to kind of taper off, and that's how you beat this Iowa team. I think Rutgers on that standalone Friday night in the Big Ten, they really showed that there is a way to beat this Phil Parker defense. They are not as stout in that quarter's identity as they have been in the past. They don't have a Cooper DeJean, Sebastian Castro, or any of those guys. I mean, Xavier Nwankpa, I do like him at safety, but that's about it in that secondary. However, they I think are going to believe that Oregon's not going to be comfortable throwing the football, specifically down the field. And the way to beat Iowa is being able to establish throwing the ball down the field. That's something Penn State couldn't do. That's something Minnesota couldn't do. That's something Wisconsin couldn't do. So you look at those three offenses, they do not have the capability that Oregon has. But the problem is with the weather and the way Oregon's offense has looked lately, specifically throwing the ball, they're going to have to lean on the run game. I don't really know how they can do that because Iowa has a pretty solid, again, it's a Phil Parker defense, pretty solid run defense. And especially if they really think that Oregon cannot challenge them vertically, that's going to help Iowa not only have that disciplined rush defense in the front 6 or 7 for Iowa play well, but they can also apply extra resources to the run game, specifically on first and second down. So it's all going to come down to this. How does Iowa move the ball? And I'm not going to lie, I don't think they really are going to. They're going to be reliant on winning the turnover battle, like Iowa normally is. It's going to be a sloppy game. There's a chance they win the turnover battle. I think that's the big key for Dan Lanning's squad is no matter what, we could beat these guys 17-7. We got to take care of the rock. We can't give them short fields. The hidden yardage in special teams is going to be another thing to watch for because Iowa is really good with special teams getting hidden yardage. And when you've seen Weegen returning back there for Iowa, he's been dynamic this year. And that's also another thing too. This isn't a corner who's got really good ball skills like they've had in the past with, for example, Cooper DeJean. This is a wide receiver. And he can also, they can find creative ways to get him the ball and pop a couple of explosives. I think that Iowa, that's what it's going to take. Pop a couple of explosives, get hidden yardage, win the turnover battle. I think they're going to accomplish all three. I am taking a shot in the dark here. Iowa's going to win 18-17 on a walk-off field goal in an ugly game in Kinnick. The only way that Kirk Ferentz would like it. That's just how it feels. I think this is a very popular dog, so I kind of thought about flipping my pick, but I'm not going to because I had Iowa circled since the preseason. I picked this as the second loss for Oregon in the preseason. I had Penn State being the first one, not Indiana, but that's not important. I did circle Iowa beating Oregon in the preseason as a possibility. So I think that the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to find a way to get it done, and I will be all right if I'm wrong because I'm just taking a shot in the dark and I'm banking on this being an ugly game. Final game to preview. This game's being slept on, man. LSU 5-3, but 2-3 in conference play. And first off, I don't really understand this, and maybe somebody can enlighten me. What is the difference between LSU's current resume and Tennessee's current resume? Other than, I guess, LSU's had the extra bye week. I don't quite understand it. LSU, in fact, I think probably has a little bit better wins, but whatever. That's kind of a rankings thing. It's not really important to this game because here's the situation you have. LSU fires Brian Kelly. They get rid of Joe Sloan. They get rid of the athletic director, and they're going to put in an interim who has the permission now to get a new coach. Frank Wilson's not paying attention to that. Alex Atkins calling plays, not going to be paying attention to that. And I think that they're going to play really well with these interims. They've had a bye week to figure it out. Alex Atkins, remember, was the offensive mind and the offensive coordinator behind the Florida State team that went 13-0 with Jordan Travis leading the charge for most of that season. This guy does know a little bit of ball, and I think he was the fall guy at Florida State last year. I think he's a good offensive head coach. So if there is talent and you can get Garrett Nussmeier going, that's going to be huge. And the other thing, too, is people are going to be like, well, LSU's, gotten opt-outs. They got Harold Perkins out. Big deal. They'll be fine. They're really talented in the front seven. They have not played well on defense the last couple of games. A bye week to get it fixed. They retained the defensive staff, at least to my knowledge. They're going to be good, set up nicely in this game on defense. Still wanting to see the status on Mansour Delane. I have not seen that, but I think the secondary's played much better this year, and it would help them if they had Mansour Delane in this ball game. But their improvement on defense is going to help them stay within striking distance of Alabama. And the other part, too, the only way Alabama pulls away is if they're really disciplined. Now, I think that them being at home helps that likelihood. But when these upsets against Kalen DeBoer teams, or really even the later years of Nick Saban, have occurred, a lot of it was discipline issues and penalties and stuff like that. I mean, it happened against Florida State. I thought there was a lot of discipline issues, both on an assignment standpoint and poorly timed penalties. So that's going to be big to make sure that there's no upset. But I think LSU's defense will keep them in the game. They have the playmakers out wide still that will be able to make some plays on this Alabama secondary. And I really think that Alex Atkins, an O-line guy, is going to find ways to be able to run the ball, which LSU has not been able to do all season long. But they have the talent, especially at the running back position, and the creativity to do it. So I think that LSU will be able to move the ball. Their defense will keep them within this game. And I expect for LSU to be up in the fourth quarter late. But I think that Ty Simpson is very cool, calm and collected. He's going to be comfortable at home. There's not going to be a super nervous crowd because there's going to be faith that this Alabama team will be able to pull it out. I think they score a late touchdown to go ahead, 24-20. Defense holds. Alabama survives at home, but LSU covers. Those are my picks for this week in the big games. I mean, you could talk about a couple of potential upsets. I'm eyeballing that Wake Forest Virginia game, but Wake Forest looked so bad last week that honestly, I don't know if I could really swing that direction with that upset. Some other games, though, to keep an eye on. The Citadel might be live on the money line against Ole Miss. I'm just kidding. It starts now. Georgia's going to play Charlotte in a couple of weeks. Oh man, SEC. Anyway, and then Georgia going on the road to Mississippi State. I think that'll be an interesting game, but this kind of feels like a spot where Georgia ends up making a statement on the road when a lot of people are going to be on the underdog in that game to at least cover and keep it close. I think Georgia could potentially have a statement win there. So we're going to have Walk That Line scheduled to post tomorrow morning. Make sure you guys tune in for that. I'm about to post this video right away, the game previews here on YouTube. So make sure you leave a like. I'll see you guys in the next video. Walk That Line tomorrow morning.